Okay. Welcome everyone to our Peninsula chapter monthly meeting. And I just want to ask the members of the Peninsula chapter to stay afterwards. We got a few announcements to make, and we won't take a whole lot of time on it. Steve, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Regine Castle, who's in charge of programs, has done us a wonderful favor this month by lining up Bruce Sharp from Singular Hearing. Bruce is our first international guest speaker. He is in Vancouver, British Columbia, and he is CEO of Singular Hearing Incorporated. They make a fascinating product called HeardThat. And the concept of it is that, as you know, one of the worst problems that hearing impaired have, they often do fine in a quiet room if they have hearing aids. But if they're in a noisy environment, it's really tough to impossible. Many people will just give up. You've already heard me talk about using remote microphones, but sometimes you can't do that. And sometimes even if you do, there's so much noise, you've still got a problem. What Bruce's company is doing is they're using artificial intelligence to listen to the noisy source, pick out the speech, and give you just the speech in your ear. That's pretty exciting. For as long as I've had hearing aids, which is 2 or 3 decades, hearing aids have had almost all every hearing aid I've had some setting called noise program, and these use rather crude signal processing to try to differentiate, to try to accentuate consonants and suppress some parts of speech, some parts of sound that might possibly be noise. They were not very effective. I'd say they're pretty darn ineffective. But now technology's come a long way, and Bruce is going to explain their product, HeardThat, how it works, and what his company is doing to develop this new concept. This is something that we should get to know about now, because it's coming. One way or another, it's coming. And you'll be, I hope, excited to hear what Bruce has to say. Bruce, go ahead.
That's great. What a wonderful introduction. Basically, you've given my whole presentation, but I'll go ahead and give mine anyway. Let me share my screen. There we go. So it looks to me like we're seeing that. If I do this, then nope, that wasn't. That's okay. So yeah, so that's me, Bruce Sharp. I'm the founder and CEO of this company, Singular Hearing, and I do have a PhD, not in a medical field. It's in mathematics and physics, but I've been in the software business forever. I never really spent any time in academia. And as you can see, I'm not young. I'm old enough to know better, but here I am doing another startup company, which is something I've done many times before. So today we want to talk about our product, HeardThat, and I will talk about it a lot, but I'm also going to give some demos and show you a bit about how it works and how you would actually use it. That'll be most of what the presentation's about, but I did want to say some general words about technology and innovative technology and new companies that are trying to tackle this area of hearing assistance. But I promise this talk is not a very technical talk. I'm not really planning to do a deep dive on any of the technology. I'm happy to take questions about any of that. Now I'll say a little bit about the future of hearing assistance, and then we can have a time at the end for questions and answers. I think there's plenty of time to get all your questions in. If there's something that you urgently want to say in the middle of my presentation, by all means, just jump in. I won't mind at all. But there will be plenty of time at the end as well to take questions. So, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? As Steve pointed out, hearing in noisy areas is pretty tough. And if you have any kind of hearing loss, it's one of the first things to go that is noticed. And even if your hearing is, normal, whatever that means, my hearing's pretty good. I've been tested as part of, this work that I do, and everything seems fine. But I'm challenged by this as well. But it's not really for me personally that I'm doing this. It started with a family member, my father-in-law, who had worn hearing aids for many years. And we could see that he was gradually kind of withdrawing more and more from family gatherings. He never wanted to go to a restaurant with us. Even his, card games with his friends, he was kind of, and the problem was the hearing. It was just too much work to participate in those things. So this was all new to me. I thought better hearing aid would surely help. This is the 21st century, and surely this is a solved problem. Well, it's not, as you know. And so after learning that and exploring why it is so difficult, this problem isn't so difficult, I learned a lot of things. And one thing I learned is that we've obviously come a long way with hearing assistance, and today's hearing aids are kind of modern miracles in many ways. And I'm going to say a lot about hearing aids and where they don't solve a problem, but don't get me wrong, hearing aids are great. They're amazing. And anybody who needs them should have them. Lots of people who do need them don't have them. And that's too bad. But although we've come a long way, noise has remained a problem, as we heard in the introduction. A couple of quotes here, hearing aids are not smart enough to know what you consider to be background noise. It's very true. Hearing in noisy surroundings, that's where the hearing aid industry is really lacking. Consumer Reports did some comparative reviews of hearing aids. All the brands got low marks when used for one-on-one conversations in noisy places. So as I was learning all this a few years ago, this came across very clearly. You only have to go on Google for 5 minutes to find out that noise continues to be a big problem. But then new technologies enable new solutions. So while I was learning this, along came some really interesting results out of various research labs that were applying artificial intelligence, AI. This is the only technical part of the talk. On this problem of the cocktail party problem, or hearing and noise, goes by various names. Plus, there was a lot of other technology advances that were sort of coming together at the same time that made this an interesting moment to consider whether this was the time to take the research out of those labs and could we do something today that's practical that could help people today. AI has really changed the game in a lot of areas. I've got a picture of a dog and a cat here, partly because they're cute, but also because it's kind of a classic problem now. Just not that many years ago, if you gave a picture of a dog or a cat to a computer and asked it to say, what is it? It would not have any idea. Now, thanks to AI techniques, any student in a few minutes can write a computer program that will reliably distinguish between pictures of cats and dogs. Well, that's not a very important problem, perhaps, but and we don't care about separating cats and dogs. What we do care about is separating speech and noise, and the same sort of concepts that have worked so well for images and so on can also be applied to audio and sound and play a role here in what we want to do. here we go again. The noise problem is ubiquitous. I mean, everyone I've talked to about this, audiologists, hearing aid users, healthcare professionals of all kinds, it's just everywhere. So it's not going away. So we need some new solutions. So here's what HeardThat is about. Here's how it works in a conceptual way. So the idea is that you're in some noisy place. That could be a coffee shop, a restaurant, might be a hospital. It could be a workplace or some kind of family gathering. Happens everywhere. So you get this noise, this ambient noise, where you get some speech that's happening, but there's all this noise on top of it. HeardThat is a smartphone app, so you run it, and while it's running, it's listening to this ambient sound. It runs these algorithms that we've developed on the phone, these AI algorithms, to separate out the speech and the noise, and gives you the clean speech to your hearing device, whatever it is. Whatever you use to get audio from your phone to your ears, we'll use it too, whether that's headphones, earbuds, hearing aids, cochlear implants. If it's a wired device, you can plug it in. If it's wireless, you can use Bluetooth. And as long as you've got sort of Bluetooth streaming, if you can do a phone call and hear it on your device, then you can use HeardThat. So let me switch gears a little bit and show you what some of the results are. This is something that's, I'd have to switch what I'm sharing here. It's something that's on our website, so you can check this out later. On your own. Almost there. There we go. We got a lot of information on our website at heardthatapp.com, and I'll mention that URL again later. But this is one of the things here. So one of the things that's really important to us is we recognize that this market space of hearing assistive devices and products is very confusing. I mean, I'm in the middle of it, and I find it very confusing. There's so many claims, and you don't know what's real and what's not. We try really hard to give people a sense of what we're trying to do and what we can do before there's any kind of commitment. And the commitment's pretty low to just try out an app. But anyway, so on our website, we're doing our best to give a sense of what kind of noise removal HeardThat is capable of. I will say that it's pretty hard to convey the experience on a website, and it's even harder in Zoom, and it'll be really hard if I don't share the sound, which I just did. There we go. So you should be able to hear this. I'll just play this for a little bit to give you a sense. If you don't hear any sounds, let me know in a minute. And this slider that's here at the bottom, right now I'm going to start, and what the noise you hear is a recording of a gentleman talking in a sort of a food court area, very noisy. That's nothing, that's the input to HeardThat. As I move this green dot to the right, you'll hear the HeardThat output. So it's actually, and this actually came off a phone that was there at the time. All right, let's get started on this. So I'll let you hear the noisy stuff for a bit, and then I'll just move that slider back and forth. He'll start talking in a second.
Hi. This video is to give you a sense of what it's like to use HeardThat in a real-life situation. Let's imagine you and I are getting together for coffee. You have HeardThat on your phone and are using it to get a clearer version of my voice amidst all the noise of our surroundings. You start HeardThat, place your phone on the table, and point it in my general direction. As you watch this, you'll see a slider underneath the video. A slider all the way to the left, and you'll hear my voice along with all the noise of our surroundings. Music playing, machinery running, other people talking, and so on. Move it to the right, and you'll get the output from HeardThat.
That actually sounded a little bit garbled to me, but I hope that gives you a sense anyway of what we're doing. When this slider was all the way to the left, it was very noisy. His voice was kind of buried in the noise. To the right, his voice was coming through. It's when I was to the right, that's where it sounded a little garbled to me. It's some mix of Zoom and other stuff, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what we're doing. It's heard that's very, very effective at suppressing noise, separating out the noise and just leaving the speech. So let me flip back to my slides and carry on from there. Okay, so what is this product, HeardThat? It's a smartphone app, as I've said before. I'm going to repeat myself a lot of time in this presentation, but okay. It is available now for iPhone and Android. You can go to the app stores, and if you search for HeardThat, all one word, you should find it right away. And I'll actually take you through the installation process in a couple of minutes to give you a sense of that. It's effective at reducing noise. It's easy to use. It's affordable. Right now it's free. Eventually we're going to start charging, but it'll be affordable. And it was really important to us in the early work that we did on this. We thought about making yet another device that you would have to buy, but then we thought that doesn't really make sense. Everybody already has lots of hearing devices. Most people have smartphones that they can use. Why not take advantage of that? And as soon as you make some earbuds or something, well, maybe somebody doesn't like the way they feel, or there's some other aspect of it. Like, no, we'll use your favorite things that you've already got. So we're just making software. And the idea literally in these kind of social situations, which maybe we haven't been doing so much of that in the last couple of years, but we will again, and sometimes we do now. But you go to the coffee shop or the restaurant and you start up HeardThat and you lay your phone on the table. This is not an unusual thing to do, to go to a coffee shop and lay your phone on the table. So it's not like you're doing something that is going to raise eyebrows from anybody. And it just sits there and listens to the noise and then delivers the clean speech to your ears. We really wanted to make this very easy to use. And as I said before, if you can make a phone call on your phone, you should be able to use HeardThat. It's about that simple. So software is really the key here. We're intelligently separating the speech from the noise. This is what's really new. It's these new technologies that make this possible. Now, these technologies, or the algorithms coming from the technologies, are very powerful, but that means that the device that it runs on has to be very powerful. Phones have lots of power. And if you're in the computer business, it's amazing how much computing power a phone has. But wearable devices like hearing aids, earbuds, that sort of thing, they don't have that much power. They have to pack a lot of functionality into a very small space. And that means they don't have the processing power of a phone. They don't have the amount of memory that a phone has to run these algorithms. And they don't have the battery life that a phone has. Phones can do all this. You can run HeardThat all day on a phone and you'll be fine, battery-wise. So that's why we chose to work on phones. And phones are getting better all the time as well. So all the technology trends are kind of going in the right direction for us as well. So many advantages to software. It's easy to try. I talked about the sort of confusion in the marketplace for hearing assistive devices and products. Part of it is it's just hard to try these things out sometimes, right? To know. And everyone's experience of hearing is so specific to you that even if something works well for somebody else, it may not be the right thing for you. And it can be a lot of work to figure that out. With software, and a software app in particular, in a couple of minutes, you can have you can kick the tires on it and see if it's even in the right ballpark for you. But aside from that, you can update software very frequently, or we can update it for you. And you don't even know it's happening. It just all happens in the background once you've got the app installed. We have been on the stores now for a few months, and every few weeks we're putting out a new version of the product that fixes some problems, just works better, maybe adds a new feature. hardware devices can't really do that. And we can make the app better. The more people that use it, the better it gets. There's sort of a little bit of an AI angle here because it learns from usage, but it's also just we can tell what people are doing in a sort of aggregate way, what things are working, what not so much. We can do little experiments, and it's just much easier to progress the product, make it better when it's software, not hardware. When you make hardware, things really get baked in. So we like the software. I've done mostly software in my career, but I have been involved in hardware products before, and it's a world of difference. We do have various awards and things that recognizes what we've been doing. We're in British Columbia, and there's a competition here in New Ventures, BC. We were a top 10 winner. We entered our company in the early days. That was out of 200 competitors. The American Association of Retired People, AARP, put on an innovation challenge, and we won that. That was in the area of hearing assistance. The Longevity Venture Summit had a What's Next business plan competition. We were the first runner-up there. And just a couple of weeks ago, we were really thrilled to learn that we were picked as App of the Year by the What the Tech media organization. So, and if you go to our website, you can see lots more news about us there. So we're an award-winning product. There you go. Installation and usage. So this is going to be another screen share where I can actually show you a big phone on the screen, and you can see how that goes. But I got to press a couple of buttons. Okay, we'll start with that button, and we'll share that. There we go. I'm looking off to the side here because I've got a computer over here to make sure that this is coming through properly. All right, so there's a phone on your screen, and that's this phone. I'm holding it in my hand, so I'll keep it off camera mostly, but I will, what I'm doing on the phone, you'll see it on the screen here. It's a little hard to see when I'm pressing buttons on the screen, but there will be a little dot, and maybe that'll help. There's a tiny, tiny cursor here that it's hard to see as well, but I'll try to guide you through what's going on. All right, so this is a phone. This is an Android phone. It doesn't have HeardThat installed, so I'm gonna do that. I'll start that process. So I guess I've already searched for HeardThat. Here's the search term here in the App Store, and it found us. And so, I can click here, right? I'll install. No, I can't do that. I can install here. And this just takes a minute, I hope. Don't know what I was going to do if the App Store was down. Okay, we're installed. I'll press open. There we go. Now, what's going to happen here is we're going to see a lot of things pop up that have information for us and will offer to do things like show us a demo and so on. It may seem like a lot of information, and it kind of is, but it only happens once on the first time you use it. And you can just skip everything and if you don't want to see it, and then you can come back to it later. So I'll explain that. But the first thing it says, would you like to see a demo? I'll say yes to this one. Most of the ones I'll just skip over, but if you say yes, then it takes you to, takes you somewhere else. I got rid of it. Anyway, takes you somewhere, shows you a little video of a demo. Not the demo we just saw, but it just other pre-recorded things. It shows what it can do. We came back from that, and now it's saying, getting started. What do you do? Well, first of all, you connect a hearing device to the phone. In my case, I actually got it plugged into the computer, but normally it'd be like earbuds or something. And if you need more help with that, there's a show me how button, which I won't click, but it would take you to some more information about that. Press the start button, point the phone toward the people you want to hear, and then you're started. Then you can adjust the amount of noise removal using the slider. So I'll just say okay to that. And this is reminding us that this little I button in the upper right corner, we can basically get all that information whenever we want at some future time. So the I button is your friend if you ever want more information. I just pressed it there, and you can see you can watch that demo again that I accidentally skipped over. You can see the getting started information, FAQ, frequently asked questions, tips and tricks, all that stuff. And you can give us a rating on the App Store. Hey, good idea. All right, I'll press the back button. And here we are on the main screen. So really all you do, we started the app, but it's not doing anything yet. We have to press the start button. And again, we're going to get a pop-up because it does need to use the microphone. So you have to give permission for the app to use the microphone. So I'll say okay to that. And I'll say while it's using the app. There we go. Now, it's for a couple of seconds, it's going to do this configuring thing because it needs to learn something about your microphones. And what it's learned here is that this mode called directional mode is going to be available on this phone. It is available for most phones, but it does a little test to just confirm that. So, and it tells you something here about how to use it and say, okay. All right, having done that, we're actually running the app, and there's a little timer above the stop button that is just showing how long you've been running it, and it gives you an indication that it's actually working. At this point, like I don't have the audio hooked up from the phone, so you're not going to hear anything from it right now. But in real life, this is, you'd be hearing the audio in your ears. And you don't have to do anything else. You can play around with this noise removal slider, which I have to do here. And you can turn it all the way off. You can go, somewhere in the middle if you want to hear a little bit of the ambient sound, or leave it at maximum. Whatever you like. But the only other thing you might want to do is these two circles and semicircles at the top of the screen. I'm going to tap this one. This is now in all voices mode, meaning it'll hear, I'll come back to this in a minute, but it'll hear voices from all directions. If I tap the other one, that takes hold, and that's directional mode. Means it'll only hear voices in the direction that the phone is pointing. While we're here, I'm going to show you something that's kind of cool. I'm going to press the volume button on the phone, and that's how you control how loud it is in your ears. You can just use the normal volume control on the phone. But if I press this, there's a little thing down here, and this is Google Live Caption. There we go. So I don't know if you're aware of Google Live Caption, but if you've got an Android phone, this comes for free on most of their phones, and it does captions of what it hears in real time. And we have made HeardThat compatible with it. So while you're using our app, you can both hear this nice clean sound in your ears, and you can see captions of the conversation at the same time. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, I'll stop that. Actually, I'll just turn off the live caption for the moment. And just so you don't feel too intimidated by all this, I'm going to press the start button again. I want to start another session. I'm in a new place. And it starts up all those little pop-ups and things. That was a one-time thing only. You're now an expert at using HeardThat, so you can just do that. And anytime you want, you can press that I button to get back to the information. Let's see, what else? Okay, there is a settings button here. I'll press this. This is in the lower left corner. Don't touch this. There's nothing really that's very interesting here. We deliberately tried to keep it simple so there aren't too many options. Mostly this is here in case you do have a problem and you contact tech support, and the tech support can say, oh, well, go to settings and try this. But if we don't tell you to do that, I would say just don't go there. You're more likely to do something that makes it not work. The button on the other side at the bottom, feedback, this is a really good one though. You should do this. We love to hear from our users, whether it's good, bad, indifferent. Please send us a message. When you press that feedback button, by default, it's going to include a recording of the audio from the session that you just did with HeardThat. If you don't want to send us audio, you can always turn that off. But if you do, you can turn it on and then turn it back on. And you can also choose, actually, so the normal thing is you'll end up here, and by default, it's picked the last session. If you want to choose a different file, you didn't mean that last one, but the one before it, you can go to the choose new file, and it shows you all the recordings. We just have two because we just installed it, and we just did two quick recordings. And oops, I wanted to show one more thing there. So we can choose the recording, but also at the bottom, there's a delete all recording. So if you don't want these recordings on your phone, you can just get rid of them all. And I'll come back in a minute to why we're recording and privacy issues related to that and so on. So anyway, I'll tap on this second one, and then we can say, put in a message here. I won't bother typing one out, but you can tell us what the issue was, or what your question is, or whatever you want to say. Then you press send, and it will, it might ask you for a, I might ask you for an email address. We need, because that sends the message to our tech support team. It has the message that you entered, and it also would attach that audio if you chose to do that. And you'll get a response from us quite quickly in response to whatever it is that you asked for. So feedback's great. It is good to attach audio, even if you don't want to attach something because what's in it, just make another short recording that shows the problem or the question that you have, and just attach that instead. That gives us so much information about your situation and how HeardThat is working on your particular phone that it's really, really valuable. I strongly encourage you to do that. Okay, we've covered everything there, I think. So let me flip back to my slides and we'll carry on from there. So best practices. So you're already HeardThat experts. You know that basically you press the start button and you're done. And when you're finished your session, you press the stop button. That's mostly all you need to know. But if you want to get a little fancier, or if you want to get the most out of it, here's a few things to know. This is the most important. I put the most important first. So think about what HeardThat is doing. It's trying to give you some sound to your ears and do that in a place where it's noisy. What you don't want is all that noise to be coming into your ears in some other way. So if you've got hearing aids, implants, turn off the mics or turn them down at least, because otherwise they're just bringing in all the noise. And there's ways that the sound from that can conflict with the HeardThat audio and so on. So we definitely recommend you turn down the mics. I know a lot of people I know wear hearing aids. They say, and they go in a restaurant, they just take out the hearing aids anyway because it's too noisy. But if you have earbuds, headphones, sometimes it's kind of an emerging feature. They have transparency mode, which means that you flip a switch and now you are hearing some of the ambient sound because you don't want to be sort of cut off from what's going on around you. But that's fine for when you need it. But if you're using HeardThat, that's completely the wrong thing to do because it's just going to bring in noise and it's going to cause issues. So those are good things to do. Reduce the sound from other things. I talked a bit about directional mode. The main reason you'd want to use this is you probably don't want to hear your own voice. You can hear it sort of in your head well enough without HeardThat also providing that audio. And this directional mode, basically the way it works is, so here we have this view from the top of somebody at a table talking to their friend. So here's the HeardThat user over here. The phone is sitting on the table. It's pointed toward their friend. This gray area here, HeardThat will let through all the speaking voices of the people that are on sort of this side of this line. On the other side, where you're sitting, that won't come through. So you can talk as loud as you want, and that won't come through in HeardThat. We're the only ones that do this well. Lots of hearing devices will talk about, you kind of focus in this area and so on, but it's a very weak kind of thing. This is a very effective way to cut out voices, your own voice in particular, that you don't want to hear. And by default, it will do that. It doesn't work on 100% of the phones, but a lot of them. And we are expanding to more phones all the time. As we saw in the demo, I'll just kind of go over it again, but these two circular things at the top here are how you switch between all voices mode and directional mode. If you ever can't really remember what's going on with those things, there's a little question mark button. You can press that and it brings up that information about it. If you need to get reminded every time, there's a button you can press down here that will show it to you every time you start the app. But I think it's pretty straightforward. Most people won't need to do that. And then well, not then, but you lay the phone on the table. I mean, we picked these pictures deliberately. It's kind of intended to work with the phone just lying flat on the table, either in the middle of a group of people or just close to you, pointing to the other person. That's a good way to do it. Holding in your hand, waving it around, there's no real reason to do that. Although maybe if you're out shopping and you want to hear your partner, you don't have a table to lay it on. You might just be holding the phone and kind of point it in their direction. But generally, yeah, you just lay it down and don't worry about it. You can also use HeardThat to listen to TV. And this is in the best practices section because it works very well. But the closer the phone is to the TV speakers, the better it's going to work. You can use it from across the room, but it's going to sound like the TV's across the room, and it's not quite so effective. This is very good. If you turn that noise removal amount down to 0, then basically you're going to hear all the sound from the TV. It's just going to come straight to your ears, and it becomes like a TV connector that I'm sure a lot of you have for your hearing devices. But if you turn the noise removal up, it's going to do some interesting things. Like you may find that speech in TV shows is a little hard to hear because there's music underneath or there's other sounds going on, and you just want to enhance the dialogue so you can hear it better. That's what HeardThat is all about. So it'll do that for you by cranking up the noise removal slider. And in any situation, you can always adjust this noise removal. If you set it to less than 100%, then you're going to be in what is equivalent to this transparency mode that you hear about on other kinds of hearing devices. You might want that just to have more awareness of your surroundings, or you're okay with a little bit of noise coming through and it just sounds more natural that way, but that's available to you. We find, we sort of thought people would leave this at 100% all the time. We find that most people actually notch it down a little bit, maybe 90%. But whatever works for you, it's available. And then, I told you I was going to repeat myself. I'm going to repeat right now. Please send us feedback. If you have any troubles, send us feedback. We would love to help you. All right, frequently asked questions. Caroline, I see your hand up. Did you want to ask a question now?
It had to do with what you were just saying. So the question would, yes. I use telecoil, and
Right.
I'm using it right now with, my computer, not with Bluetooth, no Bluetooth, just the cord, the audio cord that goes in the computer. So I also use it with my cell phone. So I'm getting the idea that when I use this app, I have 2 settings for telecoil. Telecoil only, and then telecoil with ambient sound. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that I would use the telecoil only with the phone from what you're saying. The telecoil only.
So you have a telecoil transmitter effectively that you plug into your computer?
What I use is this little
Mm-hmm.
and an iPhone, because the iPhones now don't come with the audio port.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually just connecting into my iPhone.
Yep.
I'm trying to hang up my telephone, my caption phone. Okay. So I'm connecting to my iPhone with this device.
Yeah, so I didn't mention telecoil, but if you have a way to basically, hear phone calls from your phone to your telecoil, that should work just fine with HeardThat. I mean, the idea of putting your phone right up to your hearing aid and using the telecoil that way, that's doesn't really make sense and wouldn't really be that effective. But if you've got like something you plug in and it basically broadcasts the loop signal, then that should work with HeardThat as well. But maybe, you know, if that doesn't work or doesn't make sense, maybe we should talk offline, and I can give you some more details about that.
Hey, Bruce.
I'd
Yes.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Bruce, there are several other people that have put questions in chat. Do you want to do them now or wait until the end?
Unless it's urgent, let's wait till the end. I don't have too many more slides here. The good idea to put it in the chat, because then you won't forget what your question is. But maybe I'll just keep motoring through unless you'd like me to take them now. I'm easy either way.
Go ahead.
Okay. So send us feedback. Oh yeah, the FAQ. So cost, it is free for now. Subscription pricing is coming. We do need some revenue to keep improving the product and so on. It'll probably be what seems to be typical for this category, like $10 a month, $100 a year, something like that. There will always be a free trial period, which is unlimited for a period of time. And then when that free trial period is done, you'll have some amount of free usage that you can do before that time limit runs out. So if you're a very casual user, it'll be available to you for that. But for the moment, it's free and for the next little while, so there's a good time to try it out. So what about privacy? I did mention that we do record audio onto the phone. It's important to point out, though, that all the processing of this audio is done right on the phone. We're not uploading the audio to the cloud and doing something there. The reason that we record audio is strictly for reasons of technical support. If you have a problem and you attach the audio, that's great. It's very helpful for us to help you. It just keeps it for a short time. If you come back a couple of days later, it'll be gone. Or if you record a lot of things, the older ones will just get deleted as you go. And as we saw, you can erase those recordings at any time. So, privacy is obviously a concern for a lot of people and should be, rightly so. So we've done all these things. But it's also super useful to have the ability to send a recording when you want to and when you need that help. There's many other frequently asked questions along the lines of, will it work with my phone? Will it work with my hearing device? Will it help given my particular hearing capability, which is obviously a very individual thing. And there's many other questions on the website. All of these questions have basically the same answer. The answer is probably it will work, but try it. We tried to make it very easy for you to try it, and then you'll know for sure. Will it work with your phone? We've worked really hard to make it work across a whole range of phones. Apple has a fairly limited line of models, so although they're different enough that they need some special treatment sometimes, but still there's a few there. But Android, there's hundreds of different phone models out there, and we literally work with hundreds of different Android phones, including some that are quite old, some that are newer, but on the budget brand side of things. It'll work. Maybe not to the optimal. Well, it works pretty well. But yeah. Will it work with your hearing device? Again, we've tried to make it as compatible as possible. If you've got that ability to do phone calls through Bluetooth, you can do that. If you've got something with a wire that you can plug in, you can do that. And will it help giving your hearing capability? Sure, hope so. It works for a lot of people, but I'm not going to pretend that any one solution is going to work perfectly for everybody. That's just not how the hearing assistance world works, unfortunately. When I first got into this, I wear glasses, and I thought, oh, well, we have glasses when our hearing or our eyesight starts going. Probably hearing aids are just like that. They're really not. I don't have to tell you that. It's a much harder problem. And the way people experience hearing is very different. We sure hope it helps, but maybe it won't, but we'll make it easy for you to find out and give it a try. Okay, about technology. So I said I didn't want to talk a lot about technology and the technology underlying this app, and that's true. But it helps us understand a few things about technology because, we're an innovative startup company that's trying to introduce some new technology here. There's lots of other companies doing that. We've got over-the-counter hearing aid things happening. There's going to be waves of technology coming at us. So I want to make a couple of points about this because I think a lot of people that we are working with, we can see that they don't come from a technology sort of mindset, and so they don't realize a few things. So first thing is, you should demand perfection, but don't expect it. You should absolutely set high standards for what any of these hearing devices should be doing for you. But new technology, let's face it, can have some rough edges until it's understood better and so on. And the key question is not, is it perfect, but is it an improvement over what you had before? And it'll keep getting better if you give it a chance. So I keep saying that we and other innovative companies, we want to hear from you. So that's why. And I'll emphasize that point. You're actually part of the product development process. Don't expect something to just fall out of the sky and it just works perfectly for you. That's not quite how it's going to go. We need some progress in this area of hearing assistance. And the way to make progress is to work for companies like us. And we have a whole bunch of smart people who really want to help you make your lives better. But you got to help us too. We want to hear from you. If there's a problem with us or with anybody else, any other company you're working with, just let them know. If you want an improvement, let them know. If you like it, let them know. If you have a question, please ask. Send us feedback. We try to make it easy to ask those questions. I want to talk just briefly about reviews on the app stores. They're a little tricky to understand, and if you're not in this world too much, what you don't appreciate is that reviews are kind of iffy. And unfortunately, there's a lot of unscrupulous apps who will pay people to write reviews for their apps. So you can't completely trust everything you read. But here's an app for our product. It was very nice. This person, oh, by the way, we will never, ever, ever pay for reviews on our app. So if you go to the App Store and see reviews, that's real people. So here was a great one. 5 stars, magic, great work. Love it. That's terrific. And it's also, it makes us feel good, but it also helps other people find the app because you want other people to learn about it as well. App reviews are not a great way to get tech support. Some people use it whenever they've got some little problem. They'll give you 1 star. Sucks. I only hear my own voice. Well, if they had contacted support instead of posting this review, we could have said, oh, well, just turn the phone around 180 degrees. Problem solved. Instead, we get this thing. It doesn't help us, doesn't help them, doesn't help anybody to do that. So don't do that. Contact support instead of giving a bad review. If you try it, give it a fair shot and you don't like it, fine. Give it whatever review you want. All right. Today, you hear lots of products making claims about how great they are. You're going to hear more and more of this in the future. What about HeardThat? Is it revolutionary? Yes. Is it game-changing? Absolutely. Will it work for you? Probably, maybe. Try it. But everybody says their product is revolutionary. Everybody says their product is game-changing. Some of them are. We're the ones that let you find out for yourself really fast whether it's going to have that much of an impact for you. We think it will, but you don't have to take our word for it. Okay, a couple of tips and tricks. If you hear an echo, this is a little bit of the elephant in the room. Any app that uses the phone is going to have there's going to be a little bit of delay in the sound because the phone has to hear it. It has to go through this sort of audio pipeline inside the phone. The algorithms have to work on it. And then if it's like Bluetooth, it's got to get from the phone to your ears with Bluetooth. Bluetooth is the biggest problem, actually, but that can cause a little bit of delay. It's a fraction of a second, but it's enough to cause some echo. That can be more of a problem for some people than others. If you turn off your mics, if you turn off transparency mode, that gets rid of a lot of it. If you use directional mode, you won't hear yourself, and so echo on your own voice, which is where you might notice it the most. You won't hear that. If you can go wired, that's an option. That gets rid of the Bluetooth out of it. That's very fast. And then use noise reduction, whether it's passive because something's plugged into your ears and blocking the sounds, and or active noise reduction, which is this electronic thing to reduce noise. That's all good. The thing about passive and active noise reduction, though, is it also reduces the voices. So that's why it's not enough on its own. You want to reduce all the noise and the voices, and then the voices that you hear comes to you through HeardThat. Okay. You might get a message like this. Please do this first. Connect your hearing device if it thinks it can't find it. If it thinks you haven't connected a hearing device. If you think you've connected it, but it's still telling you this, just make sure if it's Bluetooth that you've got a connection for phone calls. If you still got a problem, just contact us. We can probably help you through it and sort it out pretty quickly. Google Live Caption, we pretty much talked about that already, but that's great. All right, just 1 or 2 slides on the future, and then we'll move to questions. So this is actually it's not an exciting time. It's never an exciting time to need a hearing assistive device, but if you need one, it's an exciting time because there's going to be lots of new things coming, and it's going to be, I think, more effective solutions all the time, and just a range of innovative things are going to happen, which is good because hearing loss is on the rise. We've got an aging population. We've got a whole generation that's grown up wearing earbuds 24/7 listening to music. That's taking a toll. So the problem is growing, but the technology is also getting better. The phone audio that we rely on so much for HeardThat, that's improving all the time in ways that aren't immediately obvious perhaps to you, but it's important for us. We can take advantage of that better. Bluetooth is getting better. LE audio is going to be out soon-ish. That's going to make a big difference. And some of the latency problems or the echo problems I talked about with Bluetooth will be getting better. Over-the-counter is likely to unleash a wave of innovation. But it's probably also going to be a little bit confusing because there can be so many things coming out. That's a whole topic on itself, of course. But we think the biggest gains are going to come from software, and especially artificial intelligence. We're just scratching the surface of what can be done, and already it's much better than what has come before. There's lots more to go there, and because software can advance so rapidly, we can take advantage of it. All right, so to summarize, what is HeardThat? It's a remote mic, it's an audio amplifier, it's a TV connector, it's all of these things really, with a unique ability to remove noise and enhance speech. You can get it today. It's on both the Apple App Store and Google Play. It's free to try. It's easy to use. Software is better than the hardware. Have I mentioned that? And so you can hear better in noisy areas like right now. We'd love to hear from you. You can go to heardthatapp.com, our website, or if it's easier to remember, you can go to heardthat.ai. That'll get you to the same place. And certainly hope you will do that and let us know what you think, or let us know if you have any questions. All right. With that, let's go to questions. Shall I just go through these chat myself, or do you want to, anybody want to moderate this or anything?
Whatever you want. Do you want me to read you the questions, or do you want to read them yourself?
I got them here in front of me, so let me go through them.
Okay.
Question, please.
At the top.
I'm sorry, what's that?
It starts with Lauren.
Yes, I see Lauren has asked, my iPhone is now connected by Bluetooth to my CI. If I download this app, might it interfere with that at all? No, it should not interfere with it. So basically, the Bluetooth connection that HeardThat uses is just the standard Bluetooth connection that the phone has. And if you can be connected to more than one thing, but you'll only hear one thing at a time, but it should be just fine, is the short answer. If you run into a problem, contact us and we'll work through it with you, but it should be okay. Rick looks next, be the next person here. Bruce, have you developed solutions where I wouldn't have to point the phone at a specific speaker using mics or other hardware, for example, 4 friends at a table? Well, if you want to hear all 4 friends at a table, then you would go to all voices mode. And then it picks up the voices from all around the table. And typically in that case, you've got the phone a little bit farther away from yourself, so your own voice will come through, but not as much. So it works okay that way. Next question from Susan. What if 2 people are sitting at the table and both wearing hearing aids? Do they both put their phones on the table or only one? They both would, yeah. So each would, if I understand the scenario here, each would be using HeardThat, and it would go to their ears. Now, with LE audio that's coming up, there is the ability to broadcast to multiple devices. So the Bluetooth that's in your phone right now doesn't have that ability, but in the future, it will. In future being, we'll start seeing glimpses of it this year, maybe next year, that kind of time frame. But for now, yeah, all the different people would need to have heard that themselves. It works with one person at a time. Lauren asks, my CI is so fine-tuned to my hearing needs, yet you say to turn that down to low volume, and you suggest this app will allow me to understand speech sounds. Well, the audio that comes from HeardThat will go through the program of your CI or your hearing aids. So the tuning that's happened in the hearing aids, all that will be applied to the audio that's coming from HeardThat. So you're not giving up all that tuning, the fine tuning. It's still there. It's just that now, instead of being applied to the sound that comes in from the microphones and it's just all around you, it's being applied to the sound that comes from HeardThat. Rich, I must have missed something. How does the sound get to my ears? Do I have to have Bluetooth hearing aids, which I don't? Yeah, it's actually a frequently asked question, which I don't have in the slides, but we do have on the website. So basically, yes, you do need some way to get sound from the phone to your ears electronically. Like, there's no real point holding the phone. Like, we don't enable just the sound coming out of the phone speaker, because that wouldn't really make that much sense. All the other noise would be around, and there would be problems with that. So what do you do about that? Well, there are some solutions. It's going to sound a little bit awkward, I guess, but some people do it, right? You put on headphones over top of your hearing aids, like around the ear headphones. I don't have any, like these kind of things. Just put them over top, and the HeardThat sounds will come through those headphones. A little awkward, but maybe it's better than nothing. We heard earlier from Carolyn that there might be a telecoil solution. If you've got like a thing that will transmit to your telecoil, you might be able to use that. But we do kind of need some way to get that audio from the phone to your ears electronically. But contact us if you want to explore some of those solutions in more detail. It gets a little bit specific to your particular situation sometimes. Gail asks, once we're subscribing to or paying for the app, will we have the option to not have our conversations recorded? If I'm out to dinner with friends, they would not want. That's a great point. Sorry, if I'm out to dinner with friends, they would not want the conversation recorded. Yes, I can understand that. And that is on our to-do list, is to make that an option for people. Yeah. Nobody's had too much problem with it right now, but obviously it's a concern. It's very understandable. Carolyn says, my HeardThat trial expired and it won't update. How do I contact support? Is there a chat? I can't sign on to use feedback. Yeah, good point. Well, I can tell you the answer to that problem right now. Very sorry that happened. We had one sort of bad update where it kind of gets stuck in this mode where it won't update. What you do is you uninstall the app and then just reinstall it again, and you'll be good to go.
Thank you.
Now, if you didn't have me, yes, I know. I was so mad when that happened, and we got a few 1-star reviews when that loop happened. It happened for like one day. Anyway, but and you're right. You can't use feedback. What you can do is go to our website. There's a contact us form. That's another way to reach us. If you can remember, well, if you go to the website, it also says you can reach us at support@singularhearing.com. So that's your backup plan, is to go to the website. If you need something like that and you can't get to us through the app.
Can I ask you something about that? Sure. If I contact support, can I Zoom with them? Because I could connect my phone to the Zoom and show them what's happening.
Right.
Do they do that?
We don't have that as sort of a built-in feature, but if you contact support, we'd be happy to arrange a Zoom call for sure.
Okay.
And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's interesting that you ask, because some people have suggested, not users, but people giving us business advice, has suggested we should have a chat function on the website where people can come for tech support. It sounds like maybe you looked for something like that, and we don't have that right now, but we're considering that. That might be helpful for some people. Next question from Mike. These are great questions. Thanks, everybody. You mentioned the app is updated frequently. Is that done automatically, or do I need to download? It is automatic. It's just like any other app on the phone. You may not have known this, but you install the app, and if there's an update, it just happens in the background when the app is, it checks regularly to see if there's a new version. It'll do that. We don't even have to do that ourselves. We just upload a new version of the app to the Apple App Store or Google Play, and then all the users out there who already have the app, those phones get notified that something new is available. And then, yeah, sorry, I will endeavor to speak slower. Sorry. So when we upload the app to the app stores, that notifies the phones, and they automatically get the new app. You don't have to get it yourself. Next question from Janie. You mentioned using Google Live Transcribe. All HeardThat is running on Android phones. I have an Apple phone. Could I run Otter.ai as well as HeardThat? In our experiments, unfortunately, the answer is no. And I want to have a conversation with the Otter.ai people about that, because I don't think there's any reason why it shouldn't work. But it would make sense. We're a fan of captions. We think that's a good option. It's obviously an alternative way to get assistance. We would really like it to work, and I don't know why they wouldn't want to have that available. Your question mentioned Google Live Transcribe. Google has two products that sound a lot like each other, and it's kind of confusing. There's Live Caption and there's Live Transcribe. So it's kind of a detail, but what works with HeardThat is Live Caption. Live Transcribe's a little bit different, and that doesn't work at the same time as HeardThat. Please explain again the orientation the phone needs to be pointing to make it work. Sure. So, let me.
It's from me, and I have a reason for asking it. I have a brand new Oticon hearing aids, and I was having dinner last night with a friend who also has them in a restaurant that was fairly noisy, and I was shown I have a feature on them on my phone where if it's noisy, I can just put the phone in front of them and I can hear them. But I was hearing myself in the phone, and I realized as you were explaining earlier that possibly it's the orientation of the phone, and that may have been why I was hearing myself and not the other person. So I'm asking with HeardThat for the same reason.
Sure. So generally,
Can you stop?
Sorry?
Can you stop your screen sharing so we can see more of your face?
Yeah, of course. Of course. That's a good idea. Forgot about that. There we go. Right. Yeah, because I'm going to hold up a phone. I mean, basically, let's see. Let me just get HeardThat up here. You can't really see the screen anyway. Not that it really matters, but this is the top of the phone. This is the bottom of the phone. And that little semicircle there, where it's dark, it's at the top of the phone, and that's to kind of remind you that you want to point that top of the phone to the person that you're talking to. Now, we don't get that right 100% of the time. The way that we're doing this directional mode on the phones is not something that the phone companies ever expected, or the phone vendors ever expected that anybody would do. So they don't officially support it. So we have to do some things to figure out which way is which on the phone. Sometimes we'll get it wrong. And one of the buttons on the settings page will let you change the direction of the phone for Android. So the idea is the top of the phone, point that toward the person. And that also makes sense because if you want to use your phone, it's going to be right side up for you. All the text on the screen will be right side up for you. So that's a way to know that that's the natural way to do it. But if that doesn't work, just turn the phone around 180 degrees and try that. Most of the time we get it right, but sometimes we don't. And if you want it to be permanently changed which way it goes, you can go to the settings page and there's a little button there you can use to swap that.
Bruce, I
okay.
might have something that can help Susan. Susan,
Sure.
I've experienced what you're talking about, and check in your remote app and see if you can adjust the ratio of where the speakers are coming from.
Okay.
Okay, so sometimes it might be that you have to click another thing and then a slider bar opens up.
Thank you. It's the first time I've used it.
Okay, great. Next question from Larry. Can you tell a bit about your business plan? Are you protected by patents, going public, getting swallowed up by Google, Microsoft, etc.? Let's see. On the patent question, we have not patented this technology. Instead, we're protecting it as trade secrets, which is the other way that you can protect this kind of thing. And not much to say about that, but there's lots of patentable technology in it, but we've chosen not to do patents because they're problematic in various ways. And we'll be good with trade secrets. Are we going to go public? Are we going to get swallowed up by somebody? Well, who knows? We're not really intending either of those outcomes at the moment. The most important thing for us is to get this product, out in the world, have it work for people, and then hopefully it'll be a roaring success, and then we'll see what happens. If it does become a roaring success and we grow and grow as a company just that way, we might be quite happy with that. But obviously it is something that should be of interest to other companies as well. I would not be surprised if someone wants to have a strategic conversation with us at some point. But our main focus is getting this to work for everybody and making it available. Okay, Rich asks, how do I get live caption? I've never heard of it. When you mentioned I looked in the Play Store and did not see it. You may not see it in the Play Store because it's actually built into Android. Now, it is possible that it doesn't run on the particular phone model you've got. It may need to be a relatively recent version of Android, so it depends what you've got there. Yeah, and thanks. Alan has put some information in the chat here. You go to Android Live Caption, is accessible through settings, accessibility, scroll down to captions. So if you've got an Android phone, go to your settings page and like I would search at the top for live caption, and hopefully it will take you to the right place for it. If you don't get any hits when you search for live caption, it's possible that your version of Android doesn't support it yet. It's not the most recent version of Android you need, but something moderately recent. Okay, that's all the questions in the chat. Are there any other questions from anyone? You can just jump in or wave your hand or put your hand up. Oh, Alan, you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah. As far as live caption, it's part of the accessibility menu built into Android. So Rich, if you go to your settings and then go to the accessibility section, hopefully you'll find it there.
Good, thank you for that information.
So does anybody else have any other questions?
Actually, I do. Are the hearing aid companies, particularly the higher end ones, going to feel any competition from you or competitive with you, or want you to stop doing this?
Probably, but they shouldn't, because we've worked hard to work with hearing aids, and we're providing some functionality that they don't really address very well right now. But at the same time, they don't really like talking about that, that the fact that noise is still a problem. And you'll see in your program settings, you've lots of noise situations that supposedly they can take care of. We heard about that in the introduction. But we're not in any way trying to compete with hearing aid companies or displace them or anything. We want people's hearing aids to work better for them. When we first got into this, I wondered about audiologists as well. Would they be unhappy with us? And as it turns out, they're very happy with us. I don't think most people got to become an audiologist because they wanted to get rich quick. They wanted to help people. And they do have to sell hearing aids to make their businesses work. And that's just a fact of life. But generally, they want to help people. And so the reaction we've gotten is, well, this is great. All of my clients have this problem of noise, and you're saying you've got another solution for them? Like, awesome, bring it on. And so we've had a very good relationship with audiologists. I would like to say that hearing aid companies see it the same way. Right now, we're not on their radar screen, but to me, it would make sense that they would want to work with us and make their hearing aids work especially well with our product. But then they would have to sort of admit that something else is needed.
Would they want to incorporate your technology in their hearing aids? That's you.
They would love to, and lots of people would love to. We've had that kind of conversation where, I'm making some earbuds. Can we just put it in there? But that was all the reasons I was saying earlier about why we work on phones and not embedded in little devices. They just don't have the power to do it. I recall one of those conversations. They said, "Well, how much memory do you need?" So I put out a number, and their face kind of went white, and their jaw dropped. It's like, for them, that's like an enormous amount of memory. For a phone, it's nothing. So I'm not saying it'll never ever happen that we or somebody else will figure out how to put these type of algorithms into small devices, but it's not in the cards in the near future. Regine, did you have a question?
I just want to say, when Steve brought this to me, I thought, this isn't going to help very many people. I didn't think it would help me at all because I really have just a small amount of hearing, but I am so thankful for you, Bruce. I think this is going to be an amazing thing for all of us. And thank you so much for this presentation.
Wow, that is very nice to hear. And I'm so glad that you're finding it helpful. That's what we want to hear.
Oh, thank you very much. And everybody knows how to reach him. Everybody can go try live. Go ahead and try this. And let's see, we have 15 minutes left. Our chapter members, if they could stay for the business part of the meeting briefly, we'd appreciate it. And again, thank you so much. Been wonderful, Bruce.
Oh, it was great. I really appreciate the opportunity, and great audience. And we'd love to hear from you. Good, bad, or indifferent, whatever you want to tell us. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Bruce. That was a wonderful presentation.